Lena Hayes dragged her weary feet across the polished marble floors of the Reed mansion, the grand estate sprawling like a fortress of glass and steel under the relentless hum of central air, her faded uniform clinging to her skin after a grueling day of scrubbing, dusting, and tending to the invisible demands of a household that treated her as a shadow. A black woman from modest roots who had taken the job to send money home to her ailing mother in the rural South, her dreams of a better life deferred in the face of survival. The house, a labyrinth of luxury crystal chandeliers dangling like frozen rain, walls adorned with abstract art that cost more than her yearly wage. But beneath the opulence lay a chill that seeped into the bones, a silence broken only by the occasional creak of settling foundations or the distant wail of the wind against towering windows. Julian Reed, the millionaire tech tycoon whose innovations had revolutionized data security, rarely present, his days consumed by board meetings and global travels, leaving the mansion to feel more like a mausoleum than a home. Especially since the tragic loss of his wife in childbirth 3 months ago, a complication that stole her away and left behind 2 fragile twins, Ethan and Elijah. Their tiny cries echoing unanswered in the vast nursery. Lena, hired primarily as a maid, her duties outlined in a crisp contract: clean the silver, launder the linens, maintain the impeccable facade for Julian's rare guests. But the reality morphing into something far more burdensome, the nannies quitting in rapid succession under the strain of isolation and Julian's indifferent oversight. No replacements forthcoming as he buried grief in work. Expecting the staff to absorb the void, tonight the twins particularly fussy. One running a low fever that flushed his cheeks, the other mirroring his distress with relentless sobs. Lena stepping in as she always did, her heart aching for these motherless boys who clung to her like lifelines, bottle-feeding them with formula warmed just right, rocking them in the oversized armchair until their eyelids drooped, but the nursery feeling too sterile, too cold despite the thermostat's hum, the cribs looming like empty promises, carrying them downstairs to the living room where a fireplace crackled faintly, spreading a soft blanket on the plush carpet, laying the twins side by side, their matching onesies soft against her touch, watching their breaths synchronize in sleep, a peaceful rhythm that brought a rare smile to her face amid the exhaustion, her arms aching, her back screaming from lifting and bending. A fresh bruise blooming on her forearm from where a delivery man had roughly shoved her aside earlier that day, his impatience unchecked in this world where service workers were invisible, but Lena pushing the pain aside, lying down beside the twins to guard their rest, her body forming a protective barrier, the carpet's fibers rough against her cheek as she whispered soothing words from her grandmother's old hymns, fighting sleep but succumbing to the pull of fatigue, her eyelids fluttering closed for what she promised herself was just a moment. The front door opening with a soft click, Julian stepping in from the rain-slicked night, his designer overcoat dripping onto the entry mat, briefcase in hand, his mind still reeling from a tense negotiation that secured another multi-million-dollar contract, expecting the usual quiet but halting at the faint glow from the living room, curiosity drawing him forward, peering in, his breath catching. Lena sprawled on the floor, her uniform askew, gloved hand resting near the twins who slept soundly on the blanket, their faces serene in the firelight, a scene that shattered his composure, anger flaring at the impropriety. What was the maid doing on the floor with his children? But curiosity tempering it as he noticed the bruise on her arm, the exhaustion etched in her features, stepping closer with a sharp, "What is the meaning of this?" Lena jolting awake, disoriented, scrambling to sit up as one twin stirred with a whimper, her voice trembling. "Mr. Reed." They were feverish. The nursery too cold, I couldn't leave them alone. Julian's gaze, shifting from accusation to confusion, demanding an explanation that poured from Lena in a rush, the absent nannies, her extra duties, the twins' needs unmet by anyone else, her words hanging in the air like a challenge to his oblivious world, Julian's facade cracking as guilt washed over him, realizing the mansion's luxury masked a profound neglect he had enabled, ordering her to his study for a full account, Lena following with trepidation, the twins' soft breaths lingering in her mind as she prepared for dismissal, unaware this confrontation would unravel the threads of isolation binding the household, sparking a chain of revelations that would redefine their lives. The study dimly lit by a desk lamp, bookshelves lined with tomes on business strategy and innovation, Julian pacing as he processed her words, his sharp features softening under the weight of truth. How long has this been going on? He pressing, Lena detailing the weeks of solo care, the ignored fevers, the nights spent soothing cries while the house slept, her bruise from the delivery man a minor footnote until Julian zeroed in, "Who did that to you?" His tone shifting to protective fury. Lena explaining the incident, the man's disregard, Julian's jaw clenching as he vowed to investigate. But the conversation delving deeper, Lena's courage growing as she confronted him. The twins need more than a roof, they need love. Presence. Not just a paycheck for someone like me to fill the gaps. Julian slumping into his chair, admitting his avoidance, the grief over his wife's death paralyzing him. I thought staying away would protect them from my pain. Tears welling in his eyes for the first time in months, Lena offering quiet empathy. Pain shared is pain halved. They need you to show up, flaws and all, the vulnerability bridging their worlds. Julian rising with resolve. Things change now. You're no longer just the maid. You'll care for them officially. With support, Lena's relief mingled with surprise, the night ending with him helping carry the twins to a warmer room, tucking them in together, his hand lingering on theirs, a silent promise igniting, the echoes of exhaustion fading into whispers of hope as the mansion began to stir with the possibility of warmth. In the wake of the discovery, Julian Reed paced his study, the leather-bound bookshelves casting long shadows under the desk lamp's glow, Lena standing rigidly as he processed her revelations, the twins' isolation, the staff's overburdening, her uncompensated care, his initial anger giving way to a dawning shame. "Why didn't you report this sooner?" he demanded, Lena replying softly but firmly. "I tried, but the housekeeper said it wasn't my place," exposing layers of hierarchy that had silenced her, Julian summoning the head staff for interrogations that night. The housekeeper admitting to downplaying issues to avoid bothering him, her dismissal swift as Julian vowed reforms, turning to Lena with an offer. Official caregiver role with triple pay, a suite near the nursery. Her acceptance hesitant but driven by attachment to the twins, days blurring into a routine of change, Julian curtailing trips to oversee the household, installing cameras for transparency, hiring trained aides under Lena's input, her days now focused on the boys, bathing them in warm water, scented with lavender, singing melodies that calmed their fusses, noticing Ethan's slight developmental delay, and advocating for gentle assessments. Julian observing her patience during a fever spike, stepping in awkwardly to hold Elijah, his hands unsteady but willing, their interactions evolving from employer-employee to tentative allies, late evenings in the kitchen where Lena prepared nourishing meals, Julian joining for conversations about her background growing up in a tight-knit community where neighbors shared burdens, contrasting his isolated upbringing in boarding schools, conflicts arising from external pressures, Julian's business partners questioning his distractions, a gala where guests whispered about the maid's influence, Lena facing microaggressions like a caterer's snide remark on her promotion, her bruises from past incidents symbolizing deeper inequities. But Julian defending her fiercely. She's family now, sparking rumors that fueled tabloid interest. Internally, Lena grappling with budding feelings, confiding in a phone call to her mother about Julian's kindness helping with midnight feedings, gifting books on child-rearing yet fearing imbalance in their worlds, Julian sensing her reserve during a garden walk, admitting his loneliness. "You've brought light here. I don't want to lose that." Their first shared moment of vulnerability when he broke down over memories of his wife's final days, Lena offering comfort with a hug that lingered, boundaries blurring as affection grew, the twins flourishing, Ethan's first rollover celebrated with cake, Elijah's babble echoing joy, Lena introducing sensory games with fabrics and sounds from her culture, enriching their development, Julian participating in playtimes, his laughter mingling with theirs, the house warming as staff morale improved under fair policies. A crisis testing their bond when Victoria's sister visited unannounced, accusing Lena of overstepping and demanding custody involvement, her claims rooted in grief but laced with prejudice. Julian standing firm. Lena has been their mother in every way that counts, the confrontation resolving with legal affirmations of his guardianship, deepening his gratitude toward Lena, culminating in a quiet dinner where he confessed, "I see you not as help, but as the partner I've needed." Their kiss sealing a promise of exploration, the shadows of doubt unveiling paths to unity and love, Lena's role expanding as she suggested home improvements, warmer colors in the nursery, family photos on walls, Julian implementing them eagerly, their evenings turning romantic with walks under starlit skies, discussing futures where Lena pursued education and childcare, Julian supporting with tuition. The twins' giggles a soundtrack to their evolving story. External threats like a disgruntled former employee leaking stories to the press met with joint resilience, a press conference where Julian praised Lena's impact. "She didn't just care for my children. She rebuilt our home, quelling scandals and garnering public admiration," Lena's confidence growing as she mentored new staff on compassionate service, drawing from her experiences to foster a more equitable environment. Julian learning humility through her lens, attending community events in her neighborhood, tasting foods from her heritage that opened his palate and perspective. The chapter unfolding layers of intimacy, shared baths for the twins turning into family rituals, late-night talks about dreams deferred by circumstance. Their love, a quiet revolution against the mansion's former coldness, hints of deeper commitment as Julian gifted her a necklace symbolizing strength. For the woman who held us together, the shadows unveiled, revealing not just truths of neglect but potentials for profound connection, setting foundations for legacies yet to bloom in the warmth of renewed purpose. The breakthrough arrived unannounced on a sun-drenched morning. Theo pulling himself upright using Nia's steady hands, his first unaided steps wobbling across the room into Alexander's waiting arms, tears streaming as father and son embraced. Nia's eyes glistening with pride, the moment capping months of persistent effort that redefined impossibility. With Theo's mobility unlocked, the family dynamic shifting irreversibly, Alexander proposing a formal role for Nia as his developmental guide, but emotions deepening into romance, shared glances evolving into dates disguised as outings for Theo zoo visits where the boy toddled freely, picnics under ancient oaks discussing futures, Victoria's memory lingering as a gentle shadow, Alexander honoring her through a foundation for trauma-affected children, Nia contributing curricula based on her techniques, their collaboration yielding workshops that gained national acclaim, drawing experts who once doubted now endorsing play-based healing, challenges emerging from external scrutiny, media probing the Miracle Maid's influence, paparazzi lurking at gates, articles speculating on the Voss heir's unconventional healer, Nia facing online trolls questioning her credentials and motives, her skin color weaponized in comments, but Alexander shielding her with public statements praising her impact, strengthening their resolve, Theo thriving, enrolling in inclusive schools, his story inspiring a book co-authored by Nia and Alexander, royalties, funding scholarships for underrepresented caregivers, the engagement announced amid supportive cheers from reformed staff and Nia's family, the wedding intimate on the estate grounds, blending cultures, Nia's African rhythms with Alexander's classical touches, vows under a canopy of lights, Theo as flower boy scattering petals with steady strides, years later the Voss legacy expanding, another child adopted, the foundation growing into a network of centers, Nia earning her degree and leading programs, Alexander balancing empire with home, their bond a testament to love's transformative power, where steps once impossible became pathways to endless tomorrows, Theo growing into a confident teen advocating for disabled youth at conferences, his early struggles a badge of honor shared in motivational speeches, Nia and Alexander traveling globally to implement their model in underserved communities, from urban clinics in bustling cities to rural outposts where resources were scarce. Their family vacations doubling as volunteer trips. Theo bonding with siblings over adventures that tested limits and built character. Public life, bringing accolades a TED Talk for Nia on healing through play. Alexander's company pivoting to inclusive tech like adaptive apps inspired by Theo's journey, yet private joys grounding them. Holiday traditions fusing Nia's heritage feasts with Alexander's quiet reflections. Bedtime stories, where Theo now read to younger ones, doctor's appointments turned family outings, conflicts like corporate takeovers threatening family time resolved with Nia's counsel, balance is the real wealth, their influence extending to policy lobbying for better access to holistic therapies in schools. Alexander leveraging connections to secure funding. As years passed, the mansion evolving into a community hub, hosting retreats for families in crisis, grandchildren toddling the same halls Theo once conquered, Alexander and Nia graying but vibrant, reflecting on their journey during quiet evenings. From whispers of doubt to echoes of triumph, their story inspiring documentaries and scholarships, a legacy of light illuminating paths for others, where every milestone honored the quiet revolutions of empathy and persistence, the Voss narrative becoming a blueprint for blending world's privilege with purpose, loss with love. Theo mentoring young innovators in Alexander's firm, incorporating accessibility features that revolutionized industries. Nia establishing international chapters of the foundation, partnering with NGOs to train caregivers in remote villages, their adopted daughter pursuing law to advocate for child rights, influenced by family discussions on equity, anniversaries celebrated with global trips, revisiting sites of early workshops, renewing commitments to causes that define them, challenges like health scares for Theo in adulthood, met with innovative treatments born from their network. Reinforcing bonds through adversity, the estate's gardens blooming with memorials, trees planted for each life touched, walks among them evoking gratitude. Nia's memoirs detailing her path from domestic worker to global changemaker, bestsellers that funded endowments for Black women in education, Alexander's philanthropy awards shared humbly, crediting Nia's vision as the true catalyst, their twilight years filled with grandchildren's laughter, Theo's family gatherings, where stories of the maid who made miracles were told with reverence, the impossible not just achieved but multiplied, rippling into waves of change that touched countless lives, the chapter closing on a serene sunset, Alexander and Nia hand in hand on the balcony, watching the horizon, whispering, "We walk together into forever." Their legacy a living testament to the power of one compassionate act, sparking eternal light.